Hello and welcome to lifeconfident.com. And in today's live stream, and in fact for the next two live streams, it's going to be financial based. I'm going to be discussing with you money. Now why? Well, because confidence comes from many areas, and low self-confidence, low self-esteem also comes from many areas. The two are the same, the opposites of the same coin, so to speak. It definitely is money-based, isn't it, when I'm using money puns? So that's the reason, but it's also very timely with the pandemic going on at the moment, and lots of us confined to homes. If you're in an area where you're in lockdown, or just very restricted movements, or you're having to self-isolate, and with the winter coming on, and we all know that a second wave is either here or it's on the way, and we're all going to have to tighten our belts again, and maybe a lot of you have lost jobs, or you're just surviving on a reduced wage. Whatever it is, if you're self-employed, maybe your income has really bottomed out, and we're all struggling right now, and we don't know what the future holds, whether there's going to be a huge worldwide depression after we've finally managed to get on top of this pandemic. Who knows? It's week to week, month to month, without anyone really knowing exactly how this is going to pan out. A lot of us take that out on our governments and blame them for poor management, but they're just in the dark as much as we are, and they're trying the best. But money, finances, whether you was in a poor financial position before all this began, or this current situation has put you in that position, money for a lot of people, if you don't have it, is a big area, a big factor for low self-esteem. Now, in a very recent live stream, I talked about self-esteem and the 5 stages of getting from low self-esteem to building a chain reaction of confidence. And we discussed some different anchors that are causing your low self-esteem, and we visualized this. So just to briefly recap, what we said was, like, imagine yourself wearing a coat or a cape, and on that cape you've got little hooks, and on those hooks you've got little wet lead weights attached to you. Imagine something like a Christmas tree with baubles, only the baubles are lead weights attached to you, and they're all different sizes. So you might have one little lead weight and a really huge one, and each of those lead weights represents one area of your life where you're experiencing low self-esteem. So money, finances may be one of those lead balls for you if you're in a low wage part of your life, and you're living week to week, and you receive your wage, and as soon as you receive it, it all goes out on bills and there's nothing left for you. Maybe you've got debts, and that's really the focus of this live stream today, because I want to discuss with you a strategy for paying down debts, especially if you've got them sitting on credit cards. Maybe not even one, but multiple credit cards, and you've got debt sitting on them, and maybe you've got loans taken out, and they're all sitting there in the background, and not only are you having to pay your daily bill, your weekly bills or monthly bills, but you've also got to put something aside for these debts, and you've got to pay the minimum amount on all of these debts. And because you're getting a low wage, you can't ever get rid of them. You can only ever pay the minimum, and it never goes away because you're only paying the interest. And so your wage comes in, but it's not enough. And so little by little, month by month, you're getting deeper and deeper into debt, to keep servicing these debts. And you're feeling bad, and you're in low self-esteem, and you need to buy something to give yourself a lift, something to cheer yourself up. something to make you happy. Maybe you need a habit to keep yourself going. Maybe it's drink, maybe it's smoking, maybe it's something else. Or maybe you need to buy something like clothes, a little bit of retail therapy. Even though you can't afford it, you've got another credit card and it's got some leverage on there that you can use and buy something. But that temporary happiness soon goes away, and the black sort of dark feelings crowd back in afterwards, and your debt mountain has just increased a little bit more, and all this is dragging you down as one of those low self-esteem anchors, one of those lead weights that are attached to you, and they're dragging you down so you can't ever walk proud. You've got all these lead weights attached to you, and we discussed the 5 steps. First was identifying all the areas of your life which are having this effect on you of low self-esteem. And then step 2 was to sort them into order. Which one was the biggest? Which one is having the most effect on you, causing you the most low self-esteem? And then from there, step 3 was to choose which one you was going to tackle first. And then step 4 was to focus on that to the exclusion of all the others, and then just focus on that one until you'd mastered that one, and then you could move on to the next one. And that was step 5, was to, without resting, without taking a break, once you'd fixed one of these lead weights and got it unhooked from your coat, and you was feeling lighter, instead of resting and enjoying the feeling of having succeeded, you move straight into the next one and start tackling the next lead weight. Well, this financial strategy I'm going to discuss with you is very similar to that principle. So let's first go back one step to step 3. So you've decided you've decided what are your lead weights, and you've sorted them into order of size, which ones are the biggest for you and which ones are just minor lead weights. And you've decided which one you're going to tackle first. But is that the right one to tackle first? So let's take the example of money. So let's say one of those lead weights for you is money, and you're all those things that I've just described in the introduction of this live stream, and you're in that situation in your life where you've got loans and you've got credit card debts. But then there's another anchor on you, which is about appearance. And for people, the way they dress is one of those things that you can do to improve your self-esteem and your confidence. So imagine for a moment you're going into a meeting with someone, and that other person is wearing a nice smart suit, but you're there in jeans and a t-shirt. Who's going to feel the most confident and the most powerful in this meeting of 2 people? It's going to be the one in the suit, I'm suggesting to you. So one thing you can do to improve your self-esteem or get rid of one of those little lead weights is to be able to change your appearance, your clothing appearance, your apparel, however you want to frame that, and get rid of the t-shirts, or save them for dress down Friday or casual Sunday, whatever. But for your day-to-day going out, even if you're not going to an office job or something, just dress up smartly. Maybe not going the whole way and wearing a suit, but wearing something smart and something that supports you and gives you confidence. But let's say you've got a bigger lead weight, and that lead weight is the finances, the money, and you can't deal with this lead weight because you can't spend money on clothes, because this lead weight is there and it's about money. So this is the essence of putting your anchors, your lead weights, into order. So you choose one, but do you need to deal with a different one first? Because it directly impacts the other one. So that would be an example. One of your lead weights is your clothing appearance, but you have no money, so you've got to deal with this lead weight first. So it takes a little bit of thought to put them in order and which one you're going to deal with first. So let's get right into it. finances. And this strategy comes from Robert Kiyosaki. And if you're in financial trouble, I recommend that you read his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's his original book. Even if you're not into the key theme of his book, which was property investing, it's still a sound, very sound financial advice book. And it gives you motivation, inspiration. And in that book, it gives a strategy for dealing with credit card debts and loan debts. Excuse me. And there's also another book that I've read many books. I used to do a job that was driving, and I drove for 3-4 hours a day doing this job. And so I listened to audiobooks during all that time. And I listened to them on double speed. So imagine how many audiobooks that I got through during that period of my life. And so I digested lots of books. So Robert Kiyosaki's book was one of them, and some of his follow-up books. And another one was called The Richest Man in Babylon. Now this is a very old book. It's probably 100 years old by now, and it's a classic. And if you read that, and then you read a lot of modern financial books, you'll find that they're basing their principle on this original book. And it's like the same with a lot of personal development books. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, was another 100-year-old classic book. And then you read modern personal development books, you're going to see so much reflected from that book, and you're going to know that they've read that book, and they're throwing out a cheap imitation. I'm being a bit unfair on some of them. Some of them are genuinely good, but others are just a reflection of that book, with an attempt to bring it up to date a little bit. But they still use the same anecdotes that you read in these classic books. And if you haven't read the classic book, you won't know that. But you might think that, well, it's a 100 years book, so it's not relevant anymore. But it is. Both of these books I've just named are Think and Grow Rich and The Richest Man in Babylon. But for the purpose of this live stream and talking finances, I want to highlight The Richest Man in Babylon has been an excellent book for you to read and get inspiration and motivation from. Now, they had a number of principles in there, but I just want to highlight one for you. One principle that has been echoed through hundreds of modern finance and personal development books. And that principle is the principle of 10%. And it's simply this. It says that whatever you earn in your job, whatever you bring home at the end of the week or at the end of the month, 10% of that earning is for you. Even if you've got lots of debts to pay down, you pay yourself first. So think of yourself as being a debtor. You're in debt to yourself, and the first person, the principal person in your life is you, and you pay yourself first. So no matter how much hardship it causes to the other areas of your life where you have to pay money, the first 10% goes to you, and it's up to you what you do with that. But let me suggest that that's not for paying for food. Food is part of bills, and utility, they're bills. They're not part of your 10%. You're not paying yourself 10% just to pay the bills. That 10% is for you and you alone. Put it into a saving for a rainy day, for entertainment, for investment in a future project, or a savings fund for somebody's birthday, I don't know, an anniversary. But whatever the purpose of it is, it's yours, that 10% of your wage. So you get paid $1,000 every month, 10% of that is yours, and you squirrel it away. Then the 900 that's left over, that is to be distributed towards your food bills, your utilities, and paying off debts. So that's the principle from The Richest Man in Babylon, and I'll put that aside now, and I'll recommend that as a book for you to read. You surely would not regret it. Now, to this strategy from Richard Kiyosaki, and this is more modern, and this is focused around credit card debts and loan debts, and it's a very similar strategy to what I discussed with the 5 stages of self-esteem. So instead of having anchors in your life, or lead weights as we're conceptualizing them, and you're sorting them into order of the smallest to the biggest, which ones affect you the most and which are the least. So which one do you do in order first? Which one do you focus on first? Instead of that, in Robert Kiyosaki's strategy, you focus on your debts, and those debts replace the lead weights. And so one lead weight is one credit card debt. So you might have multiple credit card debts, and you might have a loan or 2 loans, and so you sort them into order. Which credit card has got the biggest debt on it? Which has got the smallest debt on it? Which loan is the biggest? Sort them into order, but then sort out which one has got the highest interest rate on it. Which one of those debts is causing you the most in interest? Because let's assume that you're only paying the minimum amount of interest, the minimum repayment, should I say, on each debt, and so it's never reducing. So if you're paying into all of them, you're spreading what money you've got across all of these debts, none of them are actually going away. You're simply servicing them all. So you focus on one credit card debt, the one that is causing you the most financial stress, the one that with the highest interest rate. So in our self-esteem strategy, we focused on the lead weight, or the anchor that is causing you the most low self-esteem. In this strategy, we're focusing on the debt, the credit card debt that has got the most interest rate and it's costing you the most money to service. So you're still paying all the other credit cards and your loans, if you've got loans too, but you're paying the minimum amount on all those, and you have to continue paying the minimum amount. But now you're going to focus on one credit card debt, and you're going to pay that one credit card debt down. You're going to focus on that, just like we did in the self-esteem strategy at stage 4. You focused on one strategy, one area of your life, to the exclusion of all others until it was complete. And you're going to do that with this. You're going to focus on one credit card debt, the one that's causing you the most interest, got the highest interest rates. And you're going to focus on that until it's complete. And Robert Kiyosaki says in his book, I think it's his, I've read a lot of financial books, so they all merge together sometimes. So I think it's in Robert's book, he says, what can you do to find an extra $100? I use dollars because he's American, but it might be pounds, or it might be euros, or it might be pesos for you. But what can you do to find an extra 100 in your currency? And that's going to be difficult right now with the pandemic, of course. That's added an extra layer of difficulty for most people. But is there something you could do to bring in an extra 100 per month on top of your income? Now it's difficult, but it's not impossible. When I was younger, I had 3 jobs. I got up at 5:30 in the morning and I went to Boots in the UK, Boots the chemist. It's a large chemist chain in the UK. And I was a cleaner for 2.5 hours in the morning. And then 5:30 till 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock I was due to start my day job at another shop in the same town centre. So fortunately for me, it was just a few minutes walk across the town. So I finished one job at 8 a.m. and I started the other one at 8 a.m. And then when that was finished, I had another job in the evening as a kitchen porter. I was washing pots in a restaurant from, I forget precisely the hours now, but it was something like from 5, 6, 7 o'clock onwards until midnight. And then midnight came and I got home, I grabbed some sleep, And then I got up again for that 5:30 a.m. job, and I did that for I don't know how long, but it brought extra money into my life, and I worked hard for it. I was single at the time, so that was fine. I could do that, and I was young. But I'm just trying to demonstrate for you here that it is possible. Yeah, you have to work for it sometimes, and sometimes you have to work for it extremely hard. But if you've got spare hours in your life, then there is the potential to bring that extra 100 in. But if you can't, and you just have to rely on your current wage, or wherever the source of your money is coming from, you have to put 10% aside and take the rest of it and focus a little bit extra in this one credit card, and then focus as much as you can to it until it's complete. Don't deny yourself that 10% that you paid yourself, but do focus on this, even if you have to reduce your budget in other areas. If you can't bring in an extra 100 a month, and you have to reduce your expenditure in some other area temporarily. Maybe you're a smoker, and smoking is expensive, right? So maybe you can knock that off for a while. It's a hardship, but it's an option, and funnel that money into this credit card debt until you've sorted it out. Now, this is not an overnight strategy, of course. It might take you a few years to wipe out all these credit cards, but once you do, you've removed one of those lead weights from your life, and you're going to feel so much better for it. But the strategy doesn't end there. Once you finish one credit card debt, just as in the self-esteem strategy, you move straight on to another credit card debt, the next one in the queue, the one that was causing you the next highest amount of financial burden. And so you've got rid of the first one, and now you move on to the second one. And in the second one, you pay the minimum amount plus the amount that you was paying for the other card. So you're not putting that money back into your smoking or wherever it was you were redistributing it from. You've got used in your life now to paying that amount of money into this first credit card. So you use that monthly amount, and you put it into this credit card now, plus the minimum amount you was already putting into this card. So you've increased the amount that you was putting into this one. So it's now like a combination of the two credit cards. The amount you're paying down on this one plus the minimum on this one combined. So you're paying down this credit card a little bit faster, and it's a little bit of a lesser burden than the first one, and that one's removed from your life now. So you're getting a bit of a chain reaction here. Things are starting to speed up a bit. You're putting more money into this credit card, and you've got rid of one, and then you focus on this one until the exclusion of all else, until this one is paid down, and then you move on to your next credit card or your next loan, whatever it is you've put in order to be paid off. And you use the amount of money you was paying them into this second credit card plus the minimum amount you was paying into this credit card, and you combine that, and you pay this credit card down to the exclusion of all others. And you keep doing this until all your credit cards are wiped out. So instead of trying to pay them all off in one go as much as you can on this, you focus on one card to the exclusion of all others. Then you move on to the next, and you increase your payments by transferring the sum of money you were paying on this one and combining it with the minimum payment you were paying on this one. And then you increase that payment again on the third card and increase it again on the fourth card, because you're combining the minimum payments each time. And that's how you do it, and that's Robert Kiyosaki's strategy. And I didn't know how similar it was to the self-esteem strategy until I started thinking about this morning, when I thought that this would be a good idea for a live stream. Money, finances, and what a burden it is when you have those debts in your life. So I'm going to wrap up the live stream here at this point. And again, I'm going to recommend to you those two books I've highlighted in this live stream, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Man, Poor Dad, and The Richest Man in Babylon. And that is such a good book to read. And it goes back to ancient Babylon, hence the name. And that's a city that was destroyed and there's no longer any evidence of it. But they left behind clay tablets and they wrote on those clay tablets, and they were able to find stories of people's everyday lives, like accounts. And people kept records on these clay tablets, and one of them there's lots of mini stories going on in this book, and one of them is from a pawnbroker, and you learn financial life lessons from the pawnbroker, and you learn lessons from what at the time was the richest man in Babylon, and how the king at the time asked that man to give financial education to the citizens. But I'm not going to go into any more detail. It's just such a good book, and I highly recommend you go read it or listen to it on audio. Audible, which is an Amazon company. I'm not promoting them, but you can download audiobooks these days directly onto your phone or your iPod, and you can listen to them that way, and it's a great listen. Next live stream, I'm going to do another financial strategy. I'm going to approach it from a different angle, one that you're going to recognise. But that's coming up in the next live stream in a few days' time, so I hope you're there for it. If not, have a great week and good luck, and I hope whatever going on in your life with the pandemic, I hope it's only temporary for you, and you're bulletproofing yourself, and you're building your own strategies for getting through it. Okay, let's speak.